Thanks for joining me, everyone. These are my short ribs and they are all done and ready to eat. I've got some garlic mashed potatoes, homemade, and I served myself up a plate of the short ribs. These are beef, and the potatoes. And if you want to stick with me, I will show you how I made all this food, except for the potatoes. I didn't give you a thing on the potatoes. So stick with me and I'll show you how it's done. Today is Sunday and I'm making beef short ribs for Sunday supper. So I have a few in here that I rolled in the flour. The flour is seasoned with garlic powder, the Creole seasoning, black pepper, sea salt, and it's heavily seasoned. Like, put a lot in there, make it happen. And these are already getting kind of brown. See that? So I don't want to burn the bottom because these things are going to cook right in this. The grease I'm using is bacon grease that I got earlier this morning when I cooked up the pound of bacon in the air fryer. So I'm going to proceed to do all these, and these short ribs here, they look good, don't they? And then I'll put everything else in as soon as these get good and brown. Okay. Okay, so I guess everybody knows how to coat their meat in flour. Just thusly. I'll coat the ends too, and I stand these beef short ribs on their sides and the ends to get everything nice and brown. There's some good stuff growing on the bottom there too, and I'm going to kind of scrape it up before I throw the onions and the garlic in here. And I'm also adding about a cup of wine. I just have to find the wine right now. Okay. Isn't this beautiful? These beef short ribs are turning out really, really nice. I'm getting ready to remove these and put in the new batch. Okay, this is the last of the short ribs. They're coming out. I did end up having to use a little more oil, and I chose olive oil. So for right now, my next ingredient would be the garlic, the onions. I'm only going to cook the onions for about, onions and garlic I should say, for about a minute to 2 minutes. And then I'll add the other ingredients and put the short ribs in also. Put the lid on, and I'm going to let these things simmer all afternoon until the meat is just falling off the bones. You know, I love this pot, but it is hotter than the dickens. But it's also good to put in the oven and cook. But these aren't going to go in the oven. I'm going to turn them down, and then I'm going to do some of my orders while this thing cooks, and by the time we get around to 5, 6 o'clock, it'll be all ready to eat. Does that look yummy? It smells good too. Oh, and I wanted to show you, I'm going to put in some wine. It's just a real cheap Merlot, real dry. And I poured myself a glass. Of course, it was hot because it hasn't been chilled. And I like cold wine. I'm sorry. I poured myself a glass with some ice. And it's very, very good. It is worthy of my short ribs. Okay? All right, I'm going to add these ribs back in. This looks about right. Well, you know what? Instead, I think I'm going to start adding liquids. I'm going to go ahead and dump this 32-ounce box of chicken broth. Don't you dare fall in my stuff. Let's see it sliding in. And it did. Okay. Drip, drip. And I'm going to pour in a cup of Merlot. Now this doesn't get you high. The alcohol content in the wine cooks off. It'll just add flavor to the beef. Okay. You know what? I think I'm gonna add the, don't I have a thing of puree? I wasn't able to find the pasta or the paste, the tomato paste. So I had to substitute, I would say, with about half of this can. This is a 15-ounce can of tomato puree, or this is tomato sauce, that's what they're calling it. So about there. And because this tends to be a little bit on the acidy side, I'm going to add a little bit of sugar. That's about a tablespoon. Now, I think I'm going to go ahead and add my beef short ribs. I'd like to get the liquid over the top of these so they're well covered and can cook down to a nice tender chunk of short rib. That is a dog snoring in the background, yeah. Huh? Mm-hmm. Okay, not to worry, she just snores, it's her breed. Okay. Let's see, get down in there. I think I might add, we'll see how this goes. I think I'm not going to add anything for right now. And see how it goes. I might have to add a little more broth. And that's about it. So in about 2 hours or so, I'll check on them and see if they're cooking like I want. See if they're tender yet. And then I'll bring you back at that point. Okay, this is about an hour into cooking the short ribs, and you see how I have it just at a simmer. I have the lid on it as well, and I'll check back in about an hour and show you how they're doing. You can see the sauce is turned a little bit thicker. That's because of the flour that I rolled the short ribs in. It helps thicken up the broth. I plan on serving these ribs over mashed potatoes. Doesn't that sound good? Well, guess what? Everything is done cooking. I made some garlic mashed potatoes, but I didn't include the recipe for them, but I'll make another video including the potatoes, okay? And here's the short ribs. It really looks nice and tender. I put a little bit of the broth over the potatoes. They're really, really tender. Really, really good. Look how easy this falls apart. And potatoes, they're just perfect with this meat. I cooked it all on top of the stove, as you know. It's really good. I hope you guys try the recipe and comment. Let me know how you liked it. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe and give me a thumbs up. And I'll see you soon. Bye.